Good morning to everyone. We have been learning what is translation studies, and how we will theorize those things till yesterday. Today we have another interesting area that is known as machine translation. Its present trends by Winston Cruz, senior most faculty over here since NTM's inception. NTM means National Translation Mission. He has been engaged in several aspects of institutional and also the academic matters, regulation and re-regularizing the principles and formalities of National Translation Mission. He received his post-graduation from JNU and research in University of Hyderabad and also Mysuru University. He has been very key personalities, we can say, in the National Translation Mission, apex bodies, and also quality control, the copyrights issues, several issues, and also academic credits. So many are there. One or two I will tell. This is Pearson Education, Longman Pearson Education, corpus based, more than 12,000 sentences, semantically and also syntactically very useful to the second language learners of English. That dictionary, he has been, he is the key personality, though it is referred as a assistant editor, and also MSCO series, 13 story books he translated and edited for the MSCO publishers. There are many other issues. Translation Nation and Knowledge Society is one of the assistant editors, which published by National Translation Mission, CIL. We have so many other things to share with you, but during the session we will come to know who is he and what is the latest trends in machine translation. Since its inception, it has been changed several things. We have been following some and we are not able to follow. We can listen to him and learn together. We welcome you, Winston Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. It's so embarrassing to sit by the side and hear all these things, but we are friends, okay? They are very supportive of us, all our friends, colleagues. So thank you, Dr. Matthew and Dr. Aditya, for those kind words. I want to thank the organizers from both sides, from both Rama Devi Women's University side and also from the NTM. Machine translation and its present versions, right? When I say machine translation, okay, I'll just, what comes to your mind when you hear machine translation? Tell me. Those participants, I want you to respond. What comes to your mind when you hear this term machine translation?
Translation which is done by in computer.
Yeah.
Computer.
Translation that is done in computer. Okay. Anybody else? Good. That was good.
Some sets of words and with grammatical syntaxes are given to the machine,
Okay.
and the machine translates as per its understanding.
Okay.
That's
Machine
translation done by artificial intelligence like Google.
Okay, that's also good. Okay.
Translation done by Google Translate and computer.
Okay, very good. Computer. Okay.
So translation done by the language 1 and 0, that is the binary language, not because the computer only knows a binary language and it decodes the entire source language into binary and then codes back to target language.
Okay. Okay. When I say machine translation, if it has evoked so many responses, I believe then it has come to stay, right? So it has arrived. That is the point. Okay. Like for instance, okay, some of you said it is translation done by the computer, and you give some source language, grammatical sentences. Even if you don't give grammatical sentences, it will translate. Okay, I assure you, it may be wrong, but the results may be wrong, but it will translate. That is the machine's ability to do. Sometimes what we cannot do, right? So like that. So you see at the center the machine, right? The computer, right? Now normally when we say that when we say machine, somebody said artificial intelligence, right? Done through, somebody said Google Translator and things like that. All are right, right? When you say machine translation, people think that okay, it is translation done by computer. For some people, only computer comes to their mind when you say machine translation. Then some people, it is of course translation. You also talk about translation. Some people, of course, this robotics and many other things. Okay, we have so many things. So where do we see machine translation today? Now, many of you have said different things, right? Going up to the level of zero language and language zero and things like that. Where have you seen this machine translation? Actually, can I get some responses? Have you used it, or have you seen it somewhere, or have you heard about it? Where?
Yes, so nowadays we don't look up the dictionary, and whenever we find any word difficult, we directly go and search on Google. So that is machine
Yeah. Okay.
translation.
Fine. Yeah. So
So
you
various dictionaries apps have also been arrived which we can use in our cell phones or laptop. They have developed apps which will let you know about the words.
right. Right. Correct. Apps, on our mobiles and other devices. Very good. You are all responding in the way I would like it to happen. Very good. Anybody else?
So one more. Sir, in language lab, we also use this machine translation in language lab.
Yeah. Language lab. In language lab, okay, you've used machine translation. Fine. Right. So if you're working on machine translation, of course, you will know. Then others, lay users of machine translations are there. They use, whatever is available online. Right. So when we see, okay, they, let me just pull this out. Okay.
Certain software also will be developed for that machine translation.
So corporates also, they use machine translation, but you have seen it there, or you have heard about them, or you have been part of them sometimes, right? So that is fine. So we see, like, in all kinds of devices, like I have here the tabs or mobiles or even smart watches, nowadays, everything, or many other things, like, you will see in your GPS system, right, on the car or anything else, right? Like there are many things where you see this empty working, right? Sometimes you may not recognize it at all, like that it is empty that is working and it is bringing you the results, right? You might be simply using it, right? So in that sense, now empty is everywhere, okay? And some of them are not just simple empty, some of them have undergone some processes, right, to get you to that level, to see the results that you have seen, right? So some of them are improved translations or improved empty. Sometimes there may be they may be translations, but we still think that they are empty, right? That kind of misunderstandings also happen, right? So that's how it happens. Okay, I am showing you something from a popular, like somebody said, we use mobiles. It's a shopping app, right? Very popular one, right? I'm showing you one information from, like, one screenshot, right? So the English is there. Sell on that particular app, Snapdeal or Flipkart or Amazon or anything like that. New pass, right? Sell on that. Okay, that's an information. for people to come and take part. If you're a seller, you can be on board, right? That's what they are trying to say. Then you have the product details, right? This particular thing that I'm looking for, and the brand of it, then its quantity and things like that. Then information about the product. It's fresh leaves. Actually, I'm ordering neem leaves, fresh neem leaves, right? From this, like you can order anything now, right? So many things are available on this shopping carts. So I'm ordering neem leaves, okay, and it is sold by a product company by name Greenwise, okay, right? Hope you are with me. Then they have some information. Ayurvedic plant neem is used in Ayurvedic treatment for multiple issues and things like that. Okay, so that's the product details. Now the Hindi version of it, right? You see here, right, on the right side, you're all able to see, right? And since it's a mixed, group of participants, right? Some of you are Marathi, some of you are Tamil, some of you are like Gujaratis and Odia, and of course. So I have put Hindi examples, right? I'll tell you what is the problem here, right? I myself am not a Hindi speaker, okay? So my Hindi may be very poor and right? Just excuse me, right? So this, like, see, in Hindi, what do they have? They have like sell on this particular, right, app, sell on, let's say, Flipkart, right? So in Hindi it comes Flipkart per beche, right? So there is a reordering that has happened and it is stable and it is fine, right? Hindi, like, then product details, product vivaran, right? Like in Tamil it will be product tayaripu vivarangal, right? Okay. So product vivaran, of course you will understand what it is. Then so product they have transliterated, right? And vivaran is there. We don't know if these are done by human beings or if it is done by machine, right? So below that you have the translations available. You see, for the first item, the what is there in bold in the English, fresh leaves, that is not available in the Hindi part, right? Even the same second bulleted point, Ayurvedic plant, that is not available. Third point, of course, we don't see in English, but in Hindi it has come because of the font, things like that. So if some of you who can read Hindi, right, will immediately find out that, okay, the top 2-3 lines were fine. Then when it came to this, real details of the product description, you see some problems here, right? So you see in the English itself has a problem. Fresh neem leaves by Greenwise can be used for man purposes and treatment. This man purposes, I certainly don't understand why it is there, right? That's why I have put. But it has been translated, right? Somebody said, grammatical sentences, if you give, machine will translate. So here, whether it is human being or machine, they have translated, right? They have said, Manushya ki uddeshon, right? So they have said like that. और उपचारों के लिए किया जा सकता है, right? So something that is very funny, and if there is a human translator involved, definitely she would have asked back, right? What is this man purposes, right? And why it is wrong, why it is here, and something like that. So some light would have come on that, but probably this is done by a machine, right? This translation is done by a machine. You don't get those like kind of questions, and it is simply translated. And you see the other part, fresh leaves, and those things have been left out, right? We don't know how this has happened, why, whether the machine left it out or the people who translated, or the content managers didn't provide this part to the translators or the machine to translate, or there is some problem in the coding, right? That it left out this part. We don't know, right? Same way, if you go beyond that, Ayurvedic plant. See, it says Ayurvedic treatment for neem is used in Ayurvedic treatment for multiple issues. Okay. In Hindi, if you see, right, Kahi Muddo, it is as if it is made like an election campaign, right? The issues has become not the health issues or the bodily issues that we are facing, like fever, infection, inflammation, skin disease, dental disorders, right? These are the issues that they are talking about. So these are related to health, right? But here muddo it became, which is completely wrong, right? Unless otherwise, can you use muddo? Definitely not, right? So we come to a conclusion together, right? I believe you will agree with me that this is some machine has done it. But it is certainly possible. From my personal experience, I'll tell you, human beings also can do this kind of mistakes if they are not provided the context. Okay, this has happened time and again. With our own experience, we have seen people translating like this, right? Our friends and people who are engaged with us, and our people we see participants in workshops. If the context is not there, they may do any kind of, they are able to be very innovative. Let's say, not say they are doing mistakes. They are very innovative to produce any result. Now I'll go to the Tamil translation of it. See why I'm saying the first part, right? Sell on, right? Flipkart or something, right? It is not machine translation. That's what I will say. The first line, right? It is not machine translation because in Tamil, like a postposition has been added to it, and it is joined with that word, right? Like with that word, with a particular morphophonological changes that will happen to that marker. Okay, okay. So that suffix, the case marker, the postposition, whatever you call, right? That has been added here, right? Perfectly, right? So it ends with n, right? I've left that because we need a context for this, and it starts with nil. Otherwise, it should be simply ill. Okay, right? You will see below, like there is this green vice, the name, right? In Hindi, it was transliterated. In Tamil, it has been left out like that. And Tamil also has the fresh leaves translated here, right? The fresh leaves, the fresh leaves, Ayurvedic plant. The fresh leaves translation is completely wrong, absurd, and nobody can make any logic out of it because it says length of the cloth, right? We don't know how this source came, from where it came. Second one, Ayurvedic plant is fine because it says neem used in Ayurvedic treatment. Plant used for Ayurvedic treatment, like that. So neem plant. So there is some connection to it. First one, of course, no. So when we look at it again and again and see, okay, we find that the first line is actually something like a static text. It will come in many pages of this particular app or the shopping website, that they say that okay, you sell on this platform, right? So that's a common thing which is not dynamic, which will not change. So they have done it, right, with human translators probably, or with machine plus somebody certified it, right, or modified it and certified it. So that is across the board, that is coming properly, right? The reordering and the attachment, like the morphological changes, everything has been taken care of. In the same way, product details, we saw product has been transliterated, which is, I believe, again is a choice, right? Because choice done by human beings. Machine would most probably will translate it, some utpadan or something like that, something like that, because machine is able to translate. Human beings also are able to translate, but they choose product to be a better word to remain in this shopping cart, right? Shopping platform. So they leave product details as product vivaran. But in Tamil, the word for the translation for product is very common. Tayaripu vivaran. In the company in Tayaripugal means the products of this company, right? The Nirmanatin Tayaripu. So language wise, it has been taken care of, right? What is fitting in the language? So a strategy is there, right? So there are some style guides have been given to each language, right? Taking care of the language needs, right? So we see, like I said, everything that we see or mistake it to be machine translation, or not just machine translation, or everything that we see and mistake it to be just translations or not just translations. They are all, many of them are improved, improvised, right, modified, right, by reviewers, right. So there is some like role of reviewers, there is some role of style guide, so there is some decision making, right, some guidelines given to that particular kind of translations. Then we see, right. So my whole point of this presentation is not to make you, learn everything about machine translation and tomorrow onwards you will start building machine translation systems. But I know, like from what said in the beginning also, like many of you responded, you are all users of, we all of us are users of machine translation in some or the other right way. So I want you to be informed users of machine translation. And if you want to jump into research into it, of course you are welcome, right? You should do it, right? If you want to take this up for your, research topic, of course you can do it, right? You can do many things like that. But of course, as a normal user, you are not spared anymore, right, from machine translations, right? So therefore, we need to kind of be informed users of these things. Right. Another one, very popular one, which many of you might have used, the recent one, right? If you have put the 2 doses of your vaccine, right? This is from the COVID app where you install, where you actually register for your, the jab, right? The first jab and second jab. So you see, because of the space, I have only put certain part here, right? Apna nazdiki टीकाकरण केंद्र खोजें, right? Which is fine, right? Right? Search for your nearest, right? Vaccination center. So search for, or you can say find out your, find your nearest, right? This is fine. Then the next line is slightly problematic, right? Can somebody read this for me from the audience? Somebody who can read Hindi better than me?
निकटतम केंद्रों की पूर्वावलोकन सूची प्राप्त कीजिए और टीका का स्लॉट की उपलब्धता को चेक कीजिए.
उपलब्धता की check कीजिए. You said correct, right? Which is fine because you read it, because you read the first line, right? Because it was खोजे, you expected the same kind of strategy to be there to speak with the users that they would have used, right? करें here, right? So की जांच करें, check करें, that would have been fine. But this check कीजिए, then you should have had ko, I believe here, right? उपलब्धता को check कीजिए, not की, right? In Hindi.
उपलब्धता की जांच कीजिए.
Simply, right? Ki itself is not needed, right? Ki ko, leave out everything, right? Ki जांच कीजिए, right? Which is fine.
Yes, yes, sir.
Right? So this seems to be not done by a human being, right? This seems to be, but the first one, of course, right? It looks very quite fine, right? Then the next one also, like अपना book करने के लिए, the third line, I'm talking about the third line, right? अपना slot book करने के लिए login करें, right? So the खोजें करें, this is probably done by with the same style guide and by the human translators, speaking to the users. Okay, खोजें करें, that is fine. Then suddenly in between, one part has been left for the machine to be translated. Okay, so that did its job, right? Somewhat messy manner, right? Check कीजिए, right? And ko, ki, all these things it has added. The same thing in Tamil, right? உங்களின் அருகாமையில் உள்ள தடுப்பூசி மையத்தை தேடவும். Somewhat fine. There is a sandhi error here, but otherwise it is fine. See the second line. There is a problem that in the Tamil, like when I give Tamil option, right, it retains the Hindi one there. Okay, it is not changing. So what I am trying to say is, okay, you have machine translation, you have human translators, right? But most of these things that we see now, right, these translations that we access, they are all available on devices, right? Like many of you said that you are using apps for using dictionaries. You are no more using print dictionaries, right? You are going to Google for translation or even for checking words, right, and things like that. So we are more and more technology oriented, and everything we find on the handheld device or the smart devices that we use, or desktop like what I'm using now, right? So in that sense, the question of control on technology, right? It is not just translation. How this translation interacts with the technology is also important, right? So many times you will encounter these kind of things that need not be just the problem of translation, that need not be the problem of what machine has produced, but it may be the problem of the entire technology in which this is located, right? This translation is located, right? And it is available, made available to us. See, there are some more things, interesting things in this app, right? Hindi, if you see, they have given options. Okay, you can now search, right? Jille ke anusar, right? Jille ke anusar, like according to the districts, right? Jilla, right? District wise, right? District wise in English, right? Then pin code wise, right? Pin dwara. Then another one is Manochitrapad. Manchitrapad, huh? Okay, Manchitrapad. Sorry, Manchitrapad. So that is like on the map. Search it on the map, right? So you have Tamil Nadu here and Jilla Chune, like so that part, the dynamic part, right, where you choose the name of the state, has not been translated either by machine or by human beings, right? That is left in English, right? Left in English, but the messages that come like Jilla Chune or Jile Kanusar, those things, of course, they are there, right? But these names are dynamic, which appears according to what you have chosen, right? Those things, they have not gone to that level, right? So what you see on these kind of translations, especially the empty translations, there are surface level translations, there are deeper level translations, right? There are surface levels. So surface level, something can be given to you for you to use. Of course, furthermore, so somebody, like if I'm very happy, feel happy saying that, okay, somebody in a particular state who speaks or she speaks only Hindi, right? I have given the information in Hindi, right? So she'll come to this level, Jille ke anusar, then she'll get stuck because she cannot read English. Right? So somewhere, I'm happy that I provided the information, but to what level is again a question, right? Koje, those things are available, right? So, so there is surface level translations and there are also deeper level translation. This is not about the quality of translation I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mode of translation, right? Which is available on these devices, right? Handheld devices and other things, which we generally take it to be machine translation, right? But they are not sometimes, right? So in this Tamil, see, there is another important, interesting thing. Hindi says Jille ke anusar, Tamil says Manila Variyaga, like according to state wise. So there is some involvement of human beings, right? Like that they have given a set to different translators, and translators have chosen it. Like machine will definitely not translate district wise as state wise, right? No machine will do that, but no machine translation system will do that. But human beings can of course choose, because they see, okay, below what is coming below. If they have a screenshot of this context, they see, okay, first choose the state, right? Then the Jilla will come. So Jilla information, Jilla Chune is coming inside that. So no need to do that. So first say according to state. So they have made a choice, right? This choice, I previously also about product details in the previous thing I said, somebody has made a choice, right? And this is probably human beings. So this particular thing also, again, you see, there is a interaction of both human translators, like translations done by human beings, and also machine, right? That's how you see. So many of these content that you see today are a mixture of these things, right? So just damn something, condemn something, or just praise something, thinking that, okay, this could be this, right? So don't make quick conclusions. That's my thing. So what you see now, right, whether good or bad, you are going to see a lot of such translations, right, or language material, right? You may not even identify that as translations, will be available for you in Indian languages across the board. You are going to see, right? This was predicted already, right? The Indian languages on the web. I have a small data, right, on that. See, there is this website called One World website. It lists top 25 languages of the world. Let's not go into the source of this, right? How they got it, but of course, it says like we can be proud of some, few Indian languages are on the list in the top 25 languages: Hindi, Bengali, Punjabi, Telugu, Marathi, Tamil, and Urdu, right? So then I have another survey by KPMG in India, right? This is a famous survey. Many of you might have known. Come to know it was on newspapers quite a bit, right? It was very popular at that time. Many people discussed it, right? It was done by KPMG. It's a survey agency, KPMG India, and Google together, right? Google, what we see. So the survey was named Indian Languages Defining India's Internet, right? They said in 2016, right? Not now. The study was done in 2017, right? Up to 2017, and 2017 it was published. This Indian Languages Defining India's Internet. You see, Indian language internet user base in 2016 was 234 million. That's what they estimated it. And by that time, the total Indian language internet user base had crossed the English user base of, right, internet in India. So the English user base was less than that, right? The total number of Indian languages. So now there are divisions within this, because like it includes all Indian languages. But in general, right, if you see, Indian language internet user base had crossed already in 2016. Now imagine 2022, 6 years after that, especially after this onset of the this COVID and other things. We are mostly working from home, and we use so many things now on apps, like we use on our devices, right? So more people are registering themselves for different things, and or for banking purposes they use, right? Every shop has now this Paytm payment, and all the tea shops and vegetable sellers even have, right? They use Paytms, right? So all these are now available, right? And people are using everywhere in India, right? Internet or something on their smart devices or something related, connected through the web, right? So they are all using it. Like this, this goes on to say, right? They have an estimation that Hindi internet user base is likely to outgrow English user base. Hindi alone, right, will outgrow English user base by 2021, right? I think we are a little short of time. I'll quickly go through this. So what I'm trying to say is that, excuse me, and this total, internet user base is going to be, they said in 2017, in 2021 it should be like around 536 millions, right? So it goes well with the vision of the present government, Indian government also, like that they want to have digital India, right? And they see some point in it, because technology, as like if you see the Digital India website, the Prime Minister's statement is that technology empowers the less empowered, right? If there is a strong force that brings a change in the lives of those on the margins of its margins, it is technology that is going to bring them, right? The change, right? Bring the change in their lives. It serves as a leveler and a springboard, right? Technology is a leveler, right? He said. So if you see, technology in the past, we see, okay, only people got limited access to technology, and there were many questions on it, right? Whether it is a digital divide creator or it is actually, right, a leveler, right? For instance, the first day, Anindita, right, Dr. Anindita, when she tried to present, of course, the presentation took some time to come on. The machine didn't discriminate because she was a woman or something, right? It was a simple technical glitch, right? So it doesn't discriminate. Like I had some small glitches in the beginning, right? So it doesn't discriminate like that, right? We may be ignorant, like I may be ignorant in using the technology, but as such, machine doesn't see who's sitting in front, right? So that way we have these questions, right? Whether this will provide to be an advantage or a disadvantage, right? So the overall result, I'm saying, we are going to see more and more Indian language content on the web, right? And on smart digital devices, right? This in turn will result in increased use of these devices, right? You are going to, because you are going to access not only your like dictionaries, you are using now for everything from food to booking tickets to, right, playing rummy, everything you are using, not sitting on your veranda and playing with your friends. You are, for rummy also you are playing on like web, right, and with unknown people and many other things, right? You can now play snooker and pool games, and you can PUBG and many things. You can collaborate with anybody in the world, right? The world itself is your veranda now, right? So you can now do those kind of things. So, but the point is, the more and more, some of these languages, like I said, within Indian languages, you saw some list there, right? And they get a lot of this technological advantages, right now, right? Because the fonts are available in it, and good input systems are available in it, good other systems are available in it for processing these languages. Will it end up in a digital capitalism is another question, right? If we go on accumulating digital material, right, will it, like digital information, in one language, if it becomes more, right, will it be detrimental to the growth of other languages, right? That is another question, right? Machine translation in particular, I believe, and especially in its present form, right, will not lead to this kind of, like, will be actually a kind of leveler. That's what I believe, right? So we'll go and see that what it happens, but I'll skip some of these things, right? The Wikipedia scenario, I have some information on this, but maybe we can pass this PPT on later to you, right? Because you see, like I've given here the population-wise ranking, right, and the number of Wikipedia articles. So you will see something like a language like, let's say Tamil, right, which is 17th according to population wise, like ratings, the language speakers of Tamil, but it occupies 59th place, right? Because we have lesser, like languages with lesser number of speakers, like maybe people in European countries, right? They have better access to technology and they are ahead of us. But within Indian languages, also, if you see Hindi, for instance, language speakers are third in the world after probably English, Mandarin, and then Hindi comes, right? Or Spanish or something like that. But Hindi is there in the top 5. But its Wikipedia articles is just 57, just 2 ranks ahead of Tamil, which is in 17th place, right? So there is some imbalance right now, what you see in the scenario, right? But that doesn't mean that others are left out, right? So that we'll see later, but I want to skip these things because we have very less time. Like I'm going to say, what I'm trying to say is, you are going to see much more Indian language content in the coming days on the web, right? In whatever devices that you use, right, which accesses, which works through the web technology, right, using internet, you will see Indian language content everywhere, right? And some of these could be machine translated, or some of these could be some hybrid versions, machine translated and post edited, or human beings using machine translation and doing it, right? So when we have this kind of things, right, so we are going to see improved modified translations. These are going to be localizations or post-edited content, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Now, about this, right, if you know, I don't know if you have heard about Anthony Pym. He's a translation theorist, right? He's a famous, translation theorist. He has this say, in 2021, he said, he has come in terms with technology, right? He has agreed, okay, and he has started using, and he uses it a lot, and he himself localizes, right? Writes lots on localization. He says a human being, right, human with technology can translate better than a human without technology. That is his conclusion now. right? So he has come to accept this fact. Though translation studies in general was the last one to adopt technology, right? To translation studies, the theory part, the theorists, they were very, very unwilling to actually, see. And machine translation actually entered through the back door in translation studies through corpus linguistics, right? To check the universals, translation universals, and many things like that. So that is for translation studies. Let's leave that. But so he said, human being who is translating, right? She can do better translation with technology, right? She can quickly do, or all those things, right? Save energy, save time, right? And give a better quality translation with the use of technology, right? And I would say, right, another year from there, like July to May 2002, that empty systems, since we are talking about empty systems, I will say the opposite, or not opposite, but the emphasis on the other part. Empty systems will succeed and align better with both the source and target, right? If linguists play their roles properly in the process, properly, that is also is needed, right? Linguists can play a very harmful role also, right? If they are ignorant of facts. So empty systems also need human beings, right? It is better if human beings interact. If there is a hybrid, use of these things, that is the thing. But these are not something that is said new or on this platform for the first time. This has been said, for a long time. It is in translation theory. It is called machine-aided human translation. What Pim said, right? Human beings sitting and translating using some machines to help them, right? So that is machine-aided human translation. This is like well known, right? It is there for a long time. And what I'm trying to say, that machine translations can be better if some human beings are involved in the process, right? So that is human-aided machine translation. That is also there for a long time. These are all not new things, right? So this is some history. I'll not go into it, right? The World War II scenario, machine translation started, and then it lost its steam, because they thought the fully automatic translation is not possible, right? There was an American government initiated a survey in 1964, the Alphax survey, which actually came to a conclusion that machine translation is slow, the progress is slow, it is not useful right now, right? Though IBM and many other people were involved. Then came this computer-aided translation, like, okay, you use machine to help you in translation. That idea came. But now again, with the coming of neural machine translations, this is, of course, in between we had rule-based machine translation, you have statistical machine translation, you had inter-language, things like that, many things. I'll leave those things because we have very less time now, right? If I have time, I'll come back to this, right? I have only 12 minutes, okay? So those history I'll leave, but in all these things, right, statistical machine translation, statistics, of course, right, it was based on that machine translation systems. It's called statistical machine translation. It was based on corpus, right? It will get statistics from the corpus on the proximity of items available there, right? And probability of pieces coming together, language pieces coming together, and it will give you a result, right? Then there were hybrid systems. Rules were incorporated into the statistical MT, and hybrid systems were produced, right? But in all these things, you will see two kinds of processes. One, of course, the analysis. Whatever, right, is the machine translation system, it has to first, understand what is said in the source language. Then it has to produce it in the target language. So sometimes, if there is an imbalance in the system, it can understand better the source language, but it may not produce a very readable content on the target language, right? Its understanding may be good, but it may not have produced the result. Sometimes, the reverse can happen. Analysis was not good, but it will, on the surface, it will produce a readable content, right? And which will have some semantic errors in it, right? Real errors in it, right? So, because the analysis was wrong, right? Done not very cleanly, right? So in all these, in the past, many things were created: POS taggers, morphological process generators, many things like that, WSD tools. Okay, this is Rojati Bell. I'll not go to that. I'll skip this batter also, right? Okay, I'll just do one this. See, the so much is the need for communicating across, right? The board across languages to different people, right? Now, like since we are living in a globalized, internationalized, localized, and translated world, which is called JILT environment, right? In that, you see products are going across, right? Cultures and different places. So you see, recently there was like some 2 3 years back, somebody found on Twitter. It came that somebody found in probably in Chennai, right? This idli dosa batter, the flour, the gold, right? That you use to make idli and dosa. Idli dosa, of course, I think you are probably aware of, right? These are the breakfast items in South India, famous breakfast items. So some of you may be fans of it. Okay, the idli dosa, right? The somebody wanted to sell or actually wanted to reach out to the non Tamil speakers, right, in that area, right, and the company, right, did that, used probably some machine translation, right, and put it on the, without trying to check it, right, they put it on their cover, right. So it came idli dosa balebas. For those who don't cannot read Hindi, balebas means the batsman, the cricket batsman, right? Batsman or batswoman, batter, right? The batter. Now we say batter, we don't say batsman or batswoman. Player of the match, not man of the match anymore, right? So idli dosa batter means idli dosa balebas, right? So people started asking, then who is the game boss? Like okay, then that kind of idli dosa balebas must be Krishnamachari Shrikant. That kind of, they went on, or Gundappa Vishwanath, right? They went on discussing these kind of things, right? But of course, these problems have been solved. Now, if you go and check any of these empty systems, it will say idli dosa ka batter, idli dosa batter, right? These kind of things. So quite like very agreeable thing, right? So batter, they have used this word batter because batter has become very common because of these cooking channels, right? All this pancake batter and many South Indian dishes also are coming. They don't use gol or like atta or that kind of words. They'll always use batter, right? So we know batter, what batter is now. So idli dosa batter, right? Dosa, of course, like what in North India, they'll normally pronounce like dosa as dosa. So that is there, masala dosa, right? So that dosa is there. What happens in this system? That's my thing. This is what we have, the state of the art system in machine translation. The present version is neural network systems, right? Neural machine translation. That's what we have now, right? What we have, what we see in Google or something. Google in the past, right? Up to 2016, like, it was using SMT, statistical machine translation, right? Now they have shifted, right, to neural networks, right? So many other machine translation systems also have shifted to NMT, right? So NMT is very dynamic and it is scalable and it has many other benefits and it is seen everywhere now. Now, how this idli dosa batter, right, is dealt within NMT, I just want to give you a small idea of what it does, right, because we have very less time. Okay. See, you have the set of, right, the three words, right, idli, dosa, batter, okay, right. Now it has to be produced in the target language. Let's take Hindi here for the understanding of larger, the like audience, like all of us together, right. Wherever it is needed, I'll translate into Tamil or any other things, languages. So you see this dosa, idli, batter, when the machine encounters these things, of course it will try to analyze, right. It identifies what they are and what kind of things, and it will also at the same time, right, it will look at the target language things and what are the things available there. So this, in this parallel type of setting, right, there is a connection created between these two, right, connection created between elements of these two languages, right. You see, right, like let's say in the Hindi part you had, okay, nashta, you had Indian Bharatiya or something like that, then you had balebas, of course, batter, right. Then you had batter itself, right, for which we mean the goal, right? Then goal, dosa, all these things, right? So on the one side you have, right, idli, dosa, batter in English. So in a context where batter is near to dosa, right, and batter travels across to two things, right? The batter, you see, idli, of course, the black line, right, goes to dosa goes to dosa, right? No problem with that, right? But batter, right, it goes to two places. One is the blue line, right? It goes to balebas. One is balebas, another one is the yellow line, which goes to batter. And you'll see on the way, it encounters some dots, which are thicker and bigger than the other dots below that, like the red, green, yellow, blue. Those dots below that circles are smaller, right? But here, right, this line, right, where the batter connects to batter, right, and even batter connects to balebas, these nodes are thicker and bigger, right? So what we see is, we call them neurons, right? In this neural network system, they are internally and externally connected neurons. These things, what we see, it's a mesh. There is a lot of connections, right, between two things, right? Totally different connections, right? There can be a connection with idli to anything, right? Idli to plate, right? Idli to restaurant, right? Idli to waste, right? Because idli is part of any other thing, right? It can be waste, like I found some idli in the dustbin, right? So it will make a connection to that also. But the connection, right, like dosa here and batter here, which are in close proximity, will create a very strong connection, right, which is like what you see, the motor lines, right, the thicker lines, right, which have a weightage, right, and these neurons also have weightage. Now these are language free neurons, which are called perceptrons. This is the main advantage of neural machine translation algorithms, right? What we call algorithms, like it's a program that will analyze the given digital content, right? It doesn't actually differentiate just language, right? It can actually connect anything, right? It can connect even the pixels in an image, right? And it can identify, just because of the kind of pixels in the image, it can identify if this is a face or if this is the tree, face of a human being, face of an animal, or which animal. All those things it can, just by connecting these pixels, right, which are actually neurons, right? So because they are in close proximity, so this, because of this like connections, there is some weightage to these neurons, right? And because of the context, there is some weightage to these neurons, and because of that, it finds out the right equivalence for it. So neural machine translation, neural networks can work beyond language, right? Sometimes, like, it can happen that in the future, right? Right now also there are some experiments like that. Let's not go into it, but in the future it may, like, you don't have to just give like the language content to be translated by a machine. You may have to even give the images that are coming along with it, because that will also provide a clue to neural machine translation, neural networks, because they can read those pixels, right? They can read anything that is there on the page, right? So if there is like those kind of things, if there is a like health material, or like for instance the neem leaves that we saw, if there is a picture of neem leaves, it will do better, because it will also identify that picture to be picture of a neem leaf, right? And then the content also has Ayurveda, neem leaves, and all those things. So it will align better and it will give better results, right? More readable, right? More semantically correct, right? Analysis would be done, and it's better translations will be produced. Okay, that is the point in this connections, as well as the neurons, they get weightage because of the context, right? And there is one more thing to add weight to it, is the certification. Okay, that if somebody, like, if there is a these tests, these things, right, I'll give you that little later. I'll come to that, right? What is certification in this? Now, see this NMT right now, right? The algorithm, it is simply a machine system that will simply go and get connected, and it will analyze the part. So this algorithm is designed by human beings, right? It is written by human beings. The program code is written by human beings, but the way it actually right now does this analysis, right? The deep learning that it does, it is partly, in a sense, it is unsupervised. You really don't have a control on what it does, right? We are surprised by its results at times, right? Because we don't know, right? The programmers themselves, right? So right now, NMT can do both supervised and unsupervised processes. It can take up both kind of activities, right? Supervised is, of course, the human beings, like whatever, only what you have written as a code, only it will do that. But if the code has, openings for the machine to redo recursive analysis, right, from its own analysis, right, and produce something else, right, and that sometimes, right, in the future can even surpass human knowledge, right? Machines will be smarter than human beings, right? Because machine can access bigger memory, history it can access, right? Which we may not be like aware of, right? It can search through anything, right? Any kind of data, any kind of corpus, right? And pull out the results and work on it, right? So in that sense, of course, machine can become smarter than, and I already said that it is not just restricted to language, of course. So what happens now, right, in this neural machine translation network? What we have right now is, okay, we have this algorithm which will go and do these connections, right, get these neurons and these connections, weightages, everything is done, but we also subject it to a training set, right? Whatever results that it is producing, before that itself, we are using this machine system on a training set, which we have actually produced. Okay, these are the source, this is the proper results of, like, translations of, not results, translations of this these sources, right? We use that kind of parallel corpus for this machine to learn. So it's a training set for the machine to learn, and there are also testing sets, right? When it is producing a result, we see, okay, this kind of analysis should have been done, and these are the results that should have come, whether these results are aligning with this testing set or not, right? So by this, right, we are trying to now train and test sets, right? Like this machine translation system, we are creating training sets and testing sets so that the machine can perform better, right? That is how, these, like you see, the popular machine translation systems available on web, they are doing, like much better than in the past, right? Especially when it comes to readability, right? Like readability, like they give very good readable sentences. Sometimes there may be semantic problems in it, right? Meaning problems in it, which goes unnoticed because there is good readability, right? So there is a danger to it, of course, but still machine translation systems, especially using NMT, have come a long way, right? So we are no more using the the old kind of systems which use many other things, but we are using neural networks, right? Which is not just used for language, but for many other purposes. That's why you see your search results are better nowadays. You can search, giving pictures directly, and you can get it, right? Like in Google, you can simply search an image, right, and find, okay, one image of this particular actor I'm giving, and I'll get again 100 other things. You'll see in phones, right, in your albums, you'll find, like, okay, according to people, it would have, in my phone and all, it happens automatically. I will see, Dr. Aditya, Dr. Matthew, their pictures will be there. If I click one picture, some 30 pictures from my gallery, which are there of them, is there in that. It's seriously, it's there. Like, if I can show you the thing, it will be, sometimes, like, you can, many of you may know also, right? Those things are there, right? So this neural networks connection works beyond language, right? So we are going to see a future which is filled with this kind of systems, right? So you should be prepared for that. That is my thing. So in India right now, Indian Languages Corpora Initiative done by the government, right? Government of India through this, right? And I've already passed my time, right? Another 5 minutes, yes, right? So they are producing, right? This parallel corpuses like that, right? Benchmarked translated sets in 17 Indian languages, right? For the machine to for a training set, right? As a training set to act as a training set for the machine, right? They are doing that. The Linguistic Data Consortium in Indian languages has a lot of corpus, like in Central Institute of Indian Languages has corpus. National Translation Mission has been producing a lot of translations. So there can be a parallel corpus that can be created with these translations, right? So done by human beings, approved, certified, reviewed by people. So in that sense, they can be real good sets for training these systems, right? So I will. I don't know if I have to show you these things. Okay. See, there is a problem like the what we saw idli dosa batter that has been resolved now. Okay. But in the same case, like for instance, if there is a human translator, right? The human translator also doesn't know what batter is, right? So there is a possibility what dosa is, right? The human translator also didn't know, right? So there is a possibility this person, okay, batter I know balebas, right? So they may use balebas, and dosa they may read in as dosa, right? Dosa balebas. They may think that dosa is a game, right? In some particular, part of the world. So there is a chance. But if I go and tell them, no, like in South India, this is dosa as a nashta, like breakfast item, and batter is the atta used for that, right? Okay, they come to know. Okay, she'll understand, and she produces dosa batter. Fine, right? What happens, right? If she leaves the job and the next person comes, and the next person also doesn't know, who will carry this information, this knowledge? Because these are knowledge intensive. It becomes the translation, human translation, right? Are knowledge intensive, processes. So it is for each person it will differ, right? That's why it is not just science. It is also an art, right? That people have said in the previous classes, right? It's a skill based. When human beings do it, it's skill based, right? So it's a skill, it's an art. So in that sense, the next person comes, there is no guarantee that the next person will do it, right? The same. But what happens when a machine is corrected, right? If there is a certification done, right? The certification is like in the popular translators, machine translators available on web. You will see whether you agree to it or not, whether you say this is correct or not. Like there will be an option. So users can do that. Say yes, right? And if you say yes, it will say it is an accepted, approved translation. Okay, and the neurons that I showed you, that will become bigger for that, those connections. And until a new approval comes, it will not change. Machine will mechanically, for next 1,000 years, it will produce the same, right? Because it has been approved. Because my algorithm says, whatever be the analysis, if there is an approved translation, keep it, right? So machine can, very in an absurd manner, can be right for centuries. Even if the meaning of the word has changed for centuries, they may simply, the machine may retain it. But what about human translators, right? So now you see in the industry, in translation industry especially, in many places they are they have started using, machine translations, NMT systems, and then give the role of a post editor to translators. The linguist in that industry is doing only the post editing for this content, right? That is how it is happening now. So the industry is going to change, and I have a few other things, but I am not going back to the previous ones. But this is your assignment, right? Thank you for your patient hearing. Assignment is, I have given some 4 sentences here. Just you take a paper and or on your systems, translate yourself, right? What these are like, your first translation, first approximate translation, what you can do with these sentences, right? In your own language, right? Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil, Hindi, Odia, right? Of course, right? You translate. Then you also use, right? Gujarati, right? You use some of these popular, machine translation systems available on web. One is the Bing translator. I am not recommending any of these translators, okay? And just for the assignment sake, for you to understand machine translation, I'm giving this. I'm not recommending any of these things, right? From a government platform, I should not do that. I don't do that, right? Then translate using translate.google.com. Of course, some of you have already said Google Translator you've used. Use that also, right? And see what is the result. Then compare all the three results: yours, Bing Translator, Microsoft Bing Translator, and Google Translator, and just see, like, do an analysis yourself. What has gone right in these translations? What has gone wrong in these translations? What do you find better? What do you find, not so up to the mark, right? And you can write down, right, a small, small paragraph note, a brief note, right? That will be your thing. And I don't want to go back to my other parts. So,
Sir, yes, I have a question. While doing machine translation, they say whenever you put any information on internet, it is saved by Google or something. So, is there a big confidentiality issue due to while using machine translation?
true. Your fear is true in the sense, but I'm not saying that they are doing it, but your fear is right. What you're afraid of is correct. That if I put my, right, especially if it is a confidential material that you are trying to translate, right, and you're trying to take help of machine translators, online machine translators, right, or even otherwise offline. There are some available like that. When you connect to the web, after that it will access your thing, right? Will they take your translations and do something? And if will there be a data breach? Let me say, right? That will be your contract with whoever has given you the assignment. There will be a data breach, right? Because you have shared it with someone. Of course, like if you see Google Translation, for instance, they have an official statement, right? Google Translate, saying that we don't store your data except for a few seconds, or few minutes, right? So they don't store your data, whatever you use, right? That's what they have said, right? But in many cases, like not just translation, but in other cases, you will know that Google has been fined for different kind of breaking confidentiality and doing not behaving business like in Europe. Many times it has been fined, right? Even today, if you know, like 2 days back, this KPMG survey that I mentioned, KPMG company has been fined a big sum of money by an European court. So we don't know,
Because whenever clients give me a project for 10,000 words, suppose for finishing it in 1.5 days or 2 days, so I need to use the machine translation. That's a requirement because
that's professional ethics. According to professional ethics, you are not supposed to use that machine translation system unless they have allowed you to do
yes,
it.
I'm trying to learn. Thank you so much for the information.
Right? So that's a professional ethic, of course, you all have to follow. Like if they've given us the work, we should do it, right? But sometimes it may not be probably possible. Sometimes the company themselves may allow you to use these systems. In that case, of course, you can use. Sometimes they may give pre-translated versions, right? They may run this themselves, and they may give you to post edit, right? Those places, of course, that it has come from this source, so you can still use it. But otherwise, of course, it should be your translation, right? Because you are getting paid. Right?
Yes. No. For help purpose, like
help
speeding up the process.
Words and small phrases, of course, you can definitely use it, right? So if it causes, there are some copyright rules, like how much can you share, like, beyond 11 words together, those kind of things. Right, so only in such cases it will be a copyright violation, infringement. Otherwise, it will not be a infringement. Like for small phrases and words, terms, you can use any of these. And there may be better glossaries available, not just this, machine translation systems. Right. So, for instance, I came to know the Tamil team have not used the glossaries available in Tamil Virtual Academy website. Same, many of you may not have used what CSTT has published. Right? They are also available, right? You can browse them on web, like for Hindi. Right? Not just Hindi. CSTT has now made all their publications in different languages. They have made it, right, Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, right?
Mhm.
They have made it available on their website. So you can, page by page, you can turn and you can search the English ones. Many things are available like that. So not just, things. Of course,
Mhm.
media is always good.
Thank you so much.